Hello.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Doing good, doing good. Another week,
Another.
hump day once again, right? I love
Mhm.
this. I love this time of the week when we can get together with others who share our passion for marketing and just kind of, I don't know, boost ourselves up to get through the rest of the week, right?
It's a great day to feel like you've figured something out and you have a small actionable tip you can implement. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think today's topic is just so crucial for business owners or
hmm
entrepreneurs. It's all about mastering the when of marketing, right? And I think that it's just something that, once we go through the tips today, hopefully it'll give you guys out there some new ways of really kind of figuring out your plan of action, right? Because
Mhm.
that's what we're all about is action. It's
Yes.
in it's
It's in
in
the
our
title.
session, ready, set, action, right? So basically for today, I think we're going to be talking about, the right time to launch campaigns, and how to avoid missing the boat altogether, as well as how to do it all within a budget that will grow as the organization grows.
hmm hmm
So at the end, hopefully, our attendees will have those three actionable tips,
hmm
that they can use to really refine their marketing strategy and take it onward with them in their entrepreneurial journey.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to hear, what you feel should be the very first tip that we talk about today.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take the first one. So, and just as a side note, I think we're just about 14 years in business, and I have seen everybody from all levels, like they're early on and maybe they can't afford an agency yet, but maybe they think they can, or later where they should have done this years ago. So I've seen it all, and it's
That's
this is
true.
definitely something you want to prepare for as early as possible, just to understand how this works. Because when it comes to building your company, like you think of it as a plant, right? Like we've used those things in our marketing and our branding in the past too. But think about, you've got the seedling, you've got the plant that starts to grow, and then you've got this plant that's more established. And when you think about that, you need to nurture and do things, right? It needs food, sun, water, dirt. Like it needs some things, right?
Right.
And how much it needs might depend on where it is in the stage, and also how much it needs might, how much you feed it might depend on how might affect how fast it grows. So sometimes you can control that and decide how much money can I put into this based on what my expectations are for year 1, 2, and 3. So really, when it starts early stages, seedling, typically flashy stuff, ads, that doesn't really make the most sense typically, because what you need is foundational stuff. It's just like a plant, like you need foundational stuff. Think about your Google My Business page, the foundations. You can ask people to give you reviews. You can start to build that up. You can post some things. All of that will serve you for the life of your business. And those are foundational items that are only going to cost you time, which I know is super precious. But at that point, it's likely that money might be a little more precious than time. So think of some of those things, that core stuff. So don't look at, am I ready to advertise? Am I ready to do blank, blank, and blank? Think about the core things, the structure of your website. What do you have to say? Your core profiles, if it's LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever it is. So make sure those are, think about how you can pay some attention to that, and look at that. So, and I do advise spending money on it, right? So think of a percentage of what you spend on things, or revenue, or whatever it is, and think about that growing over time. So for example, if it's a percentage and you're only making so much money, well, you might just hire a virtual assistant to help you with some stuff, right? So just the better thing you can do is to have marketing as part of your budget at the very beginning so that it can grow and it's not such an uncomfortable thing as it grows.
It's
So,
so true. I think there are times, right? Like, and we live in a community that has like a small downtown area where there's a
mhm,
lot of small businesses. And we'll find out maybe, you know, 2, 3 months after a restaurant opens that they actually are, 5 minutes from our house
mhm,
because
mhm,
they haven't, really incorporated marketing
right,
into the strategy
mhm,
of the business,
yeah,
and so you're missing some people, right,
yes,
when you don't do that. And the earlier on that you can get that as part of your regular thought process and
right,
routine
mhm.
will really help. Yeah.
Especially as retail and restaurant, like the earlier you can start to get people to come in. If your product and offering is solid, you're starting to build word of mouth, people who tell friends. That's such a huge part of the early stages of marketing. So, and then as you get to sort of a more growth stage, marketing, I would say, becomes critical, like absolutely critical in another way. So you'll stall at some point if you don't think about how marketing works to your growth, because some people, especially certain things, you can only sell to your friends for so long, right? Like it just only works for so long. And even no matter how big your network is, at some point you're going to have to start thinking about how do you talk to people outside of that network. So marketing for customer retention, I'm sorry, for content creation, social media engagement, like email campaigns, how do you build that awareness? That becomes really key, and that's when you can engage an agency, a marketing person who does consultant and can sort of split it. There's fractional marketing people. There's all these options for you. And then, as you get to more maturity, like flowering and you're fully, solid, you want to refocus some of that marketing effort on retention and scaling. So you've got customers, how can you retain them? How can you grow them into other things? Because that is going to be your easiest source of revenue at that point. So, pretty much what I would suggest for this portion is to sort of take a few minutes and map out your business life cycle stage. Where are you? And then start thinking about what you should be doing there and then what you might be doing next, and sort of set those benchmarks so you're prepared for it.
Yeah, absolutely would agree. And in that middle part, pay attention. Are the leaves turning brown because they're not getting enough water? Are they
Mm-hmm.
turning yellow because you're giving it too much, right? It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like always plan to adjust
Yep.
and be flexible. Don't
Mm-hmm.
be rigid in saying, okay, this is how we plotted it out, or this is how my last consultant told me to do it.
Right.
If it's no longer serving you and you're not seeing the results of it, then you
Absolutely.
have to pivot. You cannot stay the course at
Mm-hmm.
that point,
And
right?
at that stage too, like think if you have too much sun but not enough like root and water and everything else, you're going to have the same effect. Well, you haven't built your foundation for the spotlight in a way. Like you
Yeah,
can't have 100 customers if you can't really handle five, so it's just you're going to
exactly.
get bad stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's tip one. Anything else to add for that one?
No, I'm sorry. I was kind of interjecting along the way
Oh
there.
no, you're good.
So,
Yeah, I like that. I prefer that. So what about tip two? You got something for us?
so yeah, I think tip two is know your competition,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And really, um, not so much to well, keep an eye on them, but not so much in the way of copycatting them, but really just understanding what they're doing, what's working, where is there a gap maybe that they're not fulfilling that you could fulfill, and really take a look at how they're marketing to the point of how do you set yourself apart from the messaging that they're sending out there. So a lot of times, one of the things that you can do is do some social listening. And,
Mhm.
for those that are not familiar with that term, it's really understanding, how the audience is engaging with your brand or with another, competitor's brand,
Mhm.
and then taking that information and making wise decisions from your marketing strategy as to how you're going to leverage that, and really help to acquire more clients, or more customers coming in the door.
Mhm.
And with social listening, I think that you're looking at things like brand mentions. So, who's talking about your brand, or who's
Mhm.
talking about your competitor's brand, and what are they saying? Reputation matters,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And if somebody's out there, and of course more people are going to talk about bad experiences than good experiences, right? But if somebody's out there talking about a bad experience with your brand, then make sure that you are responding to it
Mhm.
in a proper way, that's staying on your brand messaging, so you
Mhm.
don't get down, you're not taking the gloves off, and you're not having a fist fight with them
Yeah.
over what they're saying.
Right.
But, acknowledge it, that, that they had a bad experience, offer some ways to go offline and try to resolve that issue for them,
Mhm.
and really get anybody else who's coming along behind and reading it, to understand that you want to make things right, you
Mhm.
know, and that your brand reputation matters.
Yeah.
I think also, another thing with, social listening is all about, you know on understanding share voice,
Mhm.
right? So, there's a lot of listening tools that are out there that can help you with that.
Mhm.
We can share a list in the comments afterward, to just
Yep.
recommend a few to check out.
Mhm.
But I think that that's important to understand from a benchmarking perspective, just so that you can then see how your share of voice is growing with
Right.
your brand over time, right?
You can even do Google alerts for like what's being posted, not necessarily socially, some of it, but maybe even blogs or other news type stuff. If you can do those alerts, are helpful too for that.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, I think understanding what is in those articles, and
mhm.
whether it's on Reddit, or, wherever, Medium, or wherever, and understanding, the blog articles, hidden backlinks
Mhm.
that are there, that are talking about your brand. Just all of that awareness really helps you to understand, how to strengthen that message, make
Mhm.
sure that it is clear, and, make sure that it is garnering the attention of the right audience for your brand, right?
Mhm.
So I would definitely say, if you're not using a social, listening tool that's kind of automating it in the background for you, then try to spend like 7 minutes a week
Mhm.
really focusing on what's the competition doing. If I
Yeah.
bake cookies, and I know that there's another competitor that is in my hometown that bakes cookies as well. You know,
Mhm.
how are they structuring their, sales? Are they
Right.
doing, Memorial Day, uh, themed cookies?
Mhm.
How do you stand out against that?
Right. Right.
So having that understanding is going to help draw attention to you in different ways, and you won't be
Yeah.
copycatting them.
Yeah. I think one other thought on competitors is to, especially maybe it's easier with B2B, but like let's say your target audience is CFOs. And you do have competitors that you can look at, but you can also look at other people who target the same person. Like they're not direct competitors, but they do compete for your audience's time and attention. So you
Yeah.
can sometimes look at, just find like what kind of news and advertisements do CFOs get hit with? because you might also learn like what do they pay attention to. Like if you see a CFO on LinkedIn engaging in certain types of conversations, well, that tells you some interesting things about what might trigger them too. So sometimes you can look at those parallel worlds.
Yeah, that's an amazing tip there to just
Hmm.
kind of take it to a different level, kind of outside the box.
Hmm.
But it also helps you to understand your buyer,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And what is going to motivate them to have a conversation with you.
Right, for sure. So,
Yeah. So that was good. Anything else to add to tip two?
I don't think so for competitors. It just, you know, if you find yourself not seeing enough, because sometimes if you look at all your competitors, you might get really siloed. There's just try to broaden that at times, and then choose your top favorites and follow them over time frame, like longer than a month, and see how
Yes.
their evolution. Because you'll see new logos pop up. You'll see new suddenly something they might work with a new agency. You can kind of tell some of those things, and sometimes you'll see, oh, okay, something's happening. You could sort of feel like there's growth going on. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Great points. So the last tip for today, tip three.
I get the last one today. So this is it's sort of attached to the first one about sort of these levels, but it's definitely start small and scale smart. So that has a lot to do with how you think about marketing from the beginning. And I will say, if you're a company, agency, or any type of business that you've been doing this for a while, sometimes you have to mentally start small, even if you maybe feel like you should have been doing something. I think it's still better to start small, even if you feel like you're behind the curve with things, because the problem is you learn a lot in the process of marketing, especially early stages. So I think it's up for discussion. I mean, we would definitely talk with someone directly to see how that works, but you may have to start small, even if you feel like you should have started it a couple years ago. So just because otherwise you might waste a lot of money and not get and just really get a lot of frustration in its place, for sure. So I think that, you know, if you think about campaigns, we talk a lot about campaigns. A campaign can be, you have things that you talk about like content pillars and messaging, and you have the look and you have a brand and you pull all that together. But when you think about a campaign is tends to be revolving around a single thing, right? It's either a special promotion or it's a something you can help someone with. It doesn't have to be the service you offer or the cookie you're selling. It could be something else, like building a good birthday party with, the cookies is sort of a piece. It's the end goal. But somehow a campaign can be something that's an idea. And so when you look at starting small, you can think about, a small group of emails, social media pushes, a small boost on social. That's not the full advertising spend, putting things out there on Google My Business, maybe join a Reddit community or something more, community, maybe next door. Like really think about small personal touches, because you're going to learn so much in those first couple weeks that if you decide to spend more because you're making progress, you're going to do it more wisely. Like you're just going to spend that money more wisely because of what you learned. So really start small, scale smart is a great, little sort of mantra there. So it is a marathon. What somebody on my team reminds me, it's consistency. Marketing is a lot of consistency. So the things you start doing now, we blog every week and we do social 4 times a week and we do Google My Business every other week and we do blank and we do a monthly email. When you start checking these boxes of consistency, the algorithms will like it, the people will like it, people will get to rely on you, they'll start to see, um, they'll build trust, they'll start to believe that you are consistent, a reliable company. There's all kinds of things that come from it. So that part, is huge. You know, start with the low cost, high impact tactics that you have. I think the other thing is, the increasing of the marketing budget. I mean, really, just you can think of starting dollars,
Right.
whether it's a VA to help you do some of the stuff so you can do more, right? So the VA handles the content, the social media posting, and you do a weekly video to support it, right? That's a
Yeah.
great use of marketing dollars. Do something and then do some small boosts, right? $20 here, whatever, So start small and then you can slowly build that budget. Try to figure out what's the most beneficial for you. Test things and then, put your dollars where you need it. So,
Those are really wise words because there have been times where I've talked to women entrepreneurs that just felt like they had to come out of the gate running full force,
mm-hmm,
throwing thousands of marketing dollars at it, or even throwing thousands of dollars at professional coaches,
mm-hmm,
to help them get off the ground and ended up losing the business before it really got off the
had
ground
a chance.
because they ran out of money. So that world is your oyster kind of mentality can be detrimental, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm,
So I think it is very wise of you to counsel people to just keep it small,
yeah.
keep it focused
Mm-hmm,
and compact, where it's very, very
yeah.
manageable. And then as you get those new clients in and, somebody's starting to foot the bill besides you
Yeah.
and your own
Right.
pocketbook,
Right. Grow
yeah,
from
then
VA or junior coordinator to an agency or to eventually a marketing director or to whatever. Yeah, I mean
yeah.
that's how you would want to see it. And you reminded me because I know you deal with a lot of women entrepreneurs. Like, you know, you as soon as possible, if someone can do something for you cheaper and than you can and better, is almost as good as you can, then you need to push that aside because you talking to people, selling, and thinking about the growth of your business is so much more important than the you doing the social post or you doing this or this because even the and I it's important.
Yes.
Your value is not there, so as soon as you can direct and start moving those up, the faster you will see that growth.
Yeah. The administrative tasks or the busy work that make you feel
Mm-hmm.
productive can sometimes put those blinders on you,
Yep.
as to, how you're really contributing to the growth of the
Mm-hmm.
business. You're
For
so
sure.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, in this segment, we're giving them 7-minute tasks. So, in this part, I would say, take 7 minutes. So we just have 21 minutes of homework after this, I guess.
Right.
Take 7 minutes and review your budget and look for areas for small marketing investment. And like I said, be open minded. It doesn't mean advertising. It could, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. It means somebody to help you write and manage social posts, or it means someone to do email campaigns, or it means someone to do LinkedIn outreach or sales emails. Like think about what that might be, and or it's you've always wanted to sponsor the local baseball team because you feel like there's a lot of great connections there. Like just look for opportunities for small marketing investment and then start to measure and scale as you grow.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great points. Great points. So, just kind of bringing it all together at the end here. I think the win is really all about the strategy and the
Mhm,
timing. So, the strategy and timing of what stage is your business at,
mhm,
right, is going to help to define that. Um, Analyze your competition, know what they're up to, um,
mhm,
but don't get, overwhelmed or thinking, oh, I'm not, at that same level as the competition. Use it as a learning tool and process,
mhm,
so that you can stand out. And then start small and use measurable tactics
mhm.
along the way to kind of help you grow. Think outside the box. Don't think of a marketing investment always as a campaign
Mhm,
or something that you've got to post out there on social,
mhm.
but really look at it as to how you can get out of doing these daily tasks that are really taking away from your time where you are most needed
Yep.
as the CEO. Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. So,
Excellent. Well, I am so curious to hear what our audience thinks too. What has been your experiences? You know, what else would you like to add, or do you have any questions for us?
mhm.
And we can certainly answer those on LinkedIn after the session. So we
Yes.
appreciate your time today.
Yes.
Christina, as always, my buddy on Ready, Set, Action. I love our time together.
Me
So
too.
enjoy the rest of your week as well.
Awesome. We'll talk next week.
Okay, see y'all then.
Oops.